Hi, and welcome to another podcast of In the Business with Juan and Angelica. My name is Angelica Casares.
And I'm Juan Alanis.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Our lighting is all off.
Our stands are like off también.
Whoa, that's bright.
Is that one too far?
Yeah.
Or do I need to move it?
No, you're fine. You're fine. That light gives much more than this one over here. That's why it has to balance out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
No, I was saying earlier before we started, I said, how do you come back after several months of being gone?
No idea. How do you come back?
I'm number one.
Oh. Yours is actually pretty high. Talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm too high?
Yeah.
Too low?
That's why it was that little like sound.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's because I'm hard of hearing.
You're hard of hearing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Eres cabezón.
No, not. How does that cabezón translate to that?
Hard of hearing, cabezón.
Hard of hearing. Yeah. Anyways, but the last time.
Oh, you have lipstick on your lips.
Do I?
Yeah. Oh. Distress, dude. I love it, but it's just so long. Okay. So we're here. Here we are. Don't worry about it. You can't really see it.
Okay.
It's fine. You're okay.
I was like, I don't want to look.
It's my lipstick anyway.
Pink lips.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I'll be like, oh look, he's trying to send us a message.
What's the message?
He wears lipstick. No. So no, I wanted to sit down and record because it's been so long since we actually did a recording, and
It's been months.
I was like, you know what? Let's sit down and record. And my intention is to actually start recording again, whether it's episodes where we're recording together or episodes where we're recording one of us and not the other. But I would like to start recording a bit more.
Just me and you.
Just us, because I feel like it's been a minute. And since the last time that I think since the last time that we talked, I think there's been, and I think. The overall, like, I won't even say the last time that we were on a podcast, but I would say, like, overall, like, I feel like it's constantly, like, a learning process. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I kind of like the fact that this podcast is called In the Business. Yeah. Because I feel like it is what we're doing. Like, we are in the business, like, of being, like, business owners. Mm-hmm. But the honest truth is that we're still kind of figuring it out as we go. Like, we're still, like, learning a lot as we're going through this process of, like, being business owners. So I think, for me, I was like, you know what, I do want to come back for a little bit, because there was like a moment there where I wasn't sure, like, what what it actually meant, like the podcast. Like, I was like, I don't know, like, in the business, I don't.
This podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I was like, I don't know, like, because there was a lot of other stuff happening. But so that's why I wanted to come back and record. What about you? What are you thinking about the podcast? Are you comfortable coming back to the podcast?
I'm comfortable behind the mic. I don't think. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable behind them. So there was a lot of things. Sometimes I hate doing these podcasts when we're talking about entrepreneurship and business, and here we are. It's the simple fact that we tend to be very vague.
Oh, we don't have to be vague.
No, so yeah, but no, that's what I'm saying, that sometimes we are very careful on what we say and why we say the things we say. Mm-hmm.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or are you just saying that's an observation?
It's an observation.
Oh, okay.
But I want to say that I'm trying not to do that anymore. I'm not trying to be very vague about what I'm saying, because I've learned that that's the point of the podcast, is to speak information and share our experiences. And so when we become very vague about it, we're not really starting a conversation. We're kind of just saying the same old what everybody else is saying. Mm-hmm. So I really want to stop doing that, and I apologize for doing that in the past. I think the only times that you ever really sense who I was when I got very confrontational, like on the podcast itself. There was like moments and instances where it happened. But while saying that, I think that throughout the months, the podcast, yes, but more so the business itself, more so our companies and the podcast. It's not that it's all up in the air. It's just there was nothing really solidified. And so it's hard to talk on things that you really don't know what is happening. All you can do is encourage yourself to continue doing it. And so, I think that's what was going on with us. You had just bought the business back.
Yeah.
You had just bought the business back. Or not back, I'm sorry. You had just bought the business to your sole...
No, but that was before, because I think the last time we recorded was like in February, I think, was the last episode.
I understand. We talked about that, but it was recent, though. Yeah. Like, it had just happened a few months prior. And so we were... kind of, you know how people, the metaphors, right? I'm terrible at metaphors, and that's never going to leave me. I'm so sorry. But you know how people say your ducks are in a row? I think we were kind of just all over the place. Nothing was really like...
Well, that's why I say... Well, that's why I say, like, I feel like we're still figuring it out, because I feel like even now, like, maybe my ducks are a little bit more in a row, but I'm not, like, they're not in a row the way that I, like...
Would like?
Not the way that I guess the way that I would like, and the way that I think that they should be, because like, to not be vague. Like, I think when that happened, when we were able to, like, separate, and I had the business and I took over the business, then I was able to like, hire more people, and then I had to train more people, and then I had to take time to, like, actually try to figure out. First of all, like, what is it that I want what is it that I want these new employees to be able to do for me? And two, like, how do I teach them to do it? Three, like, and I think this is probably where the bigger piece is, like, how do I, like, how am I comfortable with letting things go and not not having so much ownership of them anymore? Because I feel like that was a big thing. Like, for me, it was like, when you
say let things go, what do you mean let it go? What go?
Like, delegate. Like, how do I delegate things that are on my plate, tasks that are on my plate, work that's on my plate, and how do I delegate it out to somebody's and trust that they're going to do the job the way
I was going to say that. I think you were having a hard time trusting.
Yeah. And then, here we go. So I do it, and I'm like, oh, I think I'm doing a good job, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm still kind of like, I'm still kind of struggling with not having enough time and not being able to do the things that I thought I was going to be able to do, because I thought I was hiring this extra help so that I would be able to do these things. But I think I was still very much involved, more than I needed to be.
Nice words. Involved is definitely a nice word.
Like, what did you say?
Yeah. You're micromanaging the poor people.
I tend to be like...
you were micromanaging people, and I was like, you gotta let it go.
I want to say, like, I tend to micromanage, but not in a negative way. Like, I'm not like over... I'm not... Because when I think of micromanaging, I think of somebody that's, like, over your shoulder and, like, yelling at you if you do it wrong and stuff like that. So and that's not me. Like, I'm not really the one that's gonna yell at you.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I noticed that I finally after 5 years, I finally noticed that we have different business tactics. You and I do. We're definitely different on one. First of all, work ethic. I think that I tend to compile mine in short spats of things, because that's the way I better can do things, and my mind works better in that way. But you don't like to leave tasks off till the last minute. You like to get them, even if you can, you like to get them off early, sooner than later. Even way before the project begins, he likes to start the project so he can have something to
I guess in my mind, I'm always thinking I'm planning for the unexpected. So in case something happens, or in case I can't get to this because something else comes up, or
Yeah.
I'm always always trying to finish. I'm always like, oh, one more thing. And
so me, in terms of me, I'm more of the and I hate saying it like this because it's terrible, but I tend to work better with closer to deadlines.
Under pressure?
Not under pressure necessarily. I don't want to say under pressure, but I tend to work better closer to deadlines, because I make choices, and I have to go with that choice. And so what I've noticed about myself is that the things that I am good at are the capacity to be able, a crisis moment, I can help myself better when I'm in a crisis moment. Like when I'm quick to pivot, not always on like in my favor, but to where we don't completely lose like sight of what the goal is. And but that's first of all, that's terrible because we seen what happened at the Lunch and Learn.
Oh my God.
We seen what happened at the Lunch and Learn. Like at the forefront, it was amazing. In the back end, forget it. It was. I feel so sorry for the team, and I apologize profusely for that one because God.
But even though it didn't go off like ideally like the way you would have wanted to, I don't think it went off bad. And just so that you guys know what we're talking about an event that we had in Houston and when we were in Houston the last time in May, we had a Lunch and Learn event for the Latina Leadership Podcast, and it was our first Lunch and Learn event in Houston.
Yeah.
And the back end was a little messy because we were running around like chickens with our heads cut off. God. I mean,
Terrible.
I think in hindsight, I think for the people that were in attendance as were guests, that were speakers, they had a really good experience.
Yes.
But I think we were like, like in the back, or on the back of it,
well,
all of us organizing it were like,
you know what? In our defense, it was our first time putting something like that together on our own.
And it wasn't the planning. The planning, I think, was pretty solid.
Yeah.
I think it was the
execution.
The execution the day of.
Oh my God.
Only because we didn't like give ourselves enough time.
Yeah.
To, like, prepare.
It was the day of the execution was, and we try to cover everything. You know, everything on your to-do list doesn't get actually done.
Yeah.
I learned that. But for future reference, try to do more than 75% of your to-do list, and you should be okay, and you should feel better about.
My philosophy works.
But there was a lot of moments where I was troubleshooting a lot of things in like on site in the moment. Let's go, and I think that's where that's where I thrive my hardest. I thrive my most, and I hate that because I am just out of commission for days.
But I think that's like our experience in putting events together, like was able to really help us to, even though it was like we literally had like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours to put the whole thing together.
But here's the thing, it wasn't even like
but our experience in terms of like having our like we've done a bunch of events, we've done a bunch of like conferences and stuff like that. We've done these things before, so I feel like we kind of knew what to do. We knew like, what needs to happen, what needs to be done. So like not only just us, but then the people that are like part of our team, like that showed up, they also knew like what to do. They had experience with events too.
Yeah.
Like Carolina.
Yeah. So it definitely put us all on the line to see what our capacity was and how much. Well, first of all, I liked the fact that we did it because I know who's capable of what. And I very much, I like to know that beforehand. But beforehand, for the actual event itself, I kept, and I should have said this from the beginning. I said it, maybe 2 days after, 2 days before the actual event itself. I think the day before, when I told them, y'all understand that this event is our event. Like the cost comes under us. Everything that we're doing is completely on us. Like whether it fails or goes well, it's on us. We have nobody else to answer to. Nobody else, has to lean up on this and take scrutiny over it, because nobody else is answering to anybody else, but we're answering to ourselves. So I really want you to fuck this one up. And that's what I said, because that's really what I meant. I learned a lot in that process about myself, putting that together, because this was not a typical event that we usually do. We've had lunch and learns, yes, in the past, and about topics and so on and whatnot, and current events and current social and blogging and, things like that. But this one was much more personal. And the fact that we did it in that way, in that capacity, I learned that we are capable of so much more.
Yeah, I mean, this was different. I mean, it was different. And I think overall, I think it went well. But like going back to what you're saying, I think you said you work well under pressure. You work well under when you have a deadline or things coming up. And I think I work well when I'm like, when I just like get into the zone and I'm just kind of like, okay, now I know. I have like in my mind I have an idea of like, okay, I need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and I feel like when I get behind like my computer and I can sit there and like, you know, take my time like like when I get up, if I'm successful at getting up early, and like I'm successful like getting when it's quiet, when nobody's sending me emails, nobody's interacting, nobody's like there's no meetings and stuff like that. I feel like I work really well under that time frame to be able to really like handle a lot of things. I used to think I was really good at multitasking, where I could take on a bunch of stuff, and I still think I'm pretty good at it, but I don't think I'm great at it because I feel like I just like things just I feel like I don't have enough time. Like I think sometimes I'm like, oh, you know, I have to do this and then I have to do that, or I have this idea or this other, and you're like, sometimes when we talk about it, you're like, oh, we have these ideas but we're not writing them down, so how is it going to happen? Like what are we going to do? We're going to forget about them.
Yeah, we have to organize ourselves a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing for me is like I like being organized, but I think when you want when you how's that saying, when you want to cuando quieres agarrar mucho, and then you're trying to grab it all, and it's like it's hard to like grasp it all. So like my thing is like I have to try to like pace myself in a way to be like, okay, there's what's in front of you right now, and then what's after that, and then what's after that. So if I try to do everything at once, I feel like it's not the ideal. But now I think now that we have people, like I feel now it's much more conducive to that.
No, we were always working with somebody, but we were only working with like one person.
Yeah.
And we were limited to the time.
Yeah.
And the projects that we could hand off to either be finished, started, or like congruently like be done. So I guess we grew our team. We switched up a couple of people, but we grew our team for sure. Some people, you know, stay in Houston. Some people. We have one person here with us here in Arkansas.
I mean, our team's not that big.
No, it's not. Some people. We got a 20 team. No, we don't.
No, but
but we do. We have a very good team.
But I think the other thing, and I was talking to my mentor last week, and what I was telling my mentor was like, you know, one thing that I feel like I've learned, because like the last like month was a tough month. Like I'll be honest, so the last month was a tough month, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna have to like, I'm gonna have to figure some things out. You know, I'm gonna have to figure some things out. And I think one thing as a business owner that we've had to learn the hard way is that sometimes that you need to make quick decisions. You need to be able to make quick decisions sometimes when you have to, right? When the numbers aren't adding up, when things aren't going the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
You got to make quick decisions. You got to be able to be like, okay, you know what? I got to cut some time. I got to cut some, you know, make some decisions, and maybe I don't have work for you this month, or maybe I don't have that, you know, you got to make some adjustments. And so when in April, I started to realize like, oh, okay, like I'm going to have to change a few things around. I was working with a few contractors who, you know, who had been working with me for maybe a couple months already. And we had been doing projects, and, you know, I was happy with the work that was being done. But I realized when that changed, when I saw the month of April, and I was like, okay, you know what? May is probably going to be a little bit tougher than the first quarter of the year. For the first quarter, I felt like was a strong quarter. But then I was like looking at the second quarter, and I'm like, it looks like it's going to be a little tough to kind of get through the second quarter. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to make some adjustments. And where before I might have waited and been like, oh, you know what, I gotta wait, or no, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And I still even think I waited a little bit too long
to make those adjustments,
to make the changes. But then I did make the changes, and I had conversations with people and people that I really like and that I still want to work with in the future at some point. But I had to have those conversations and say, hey, you know what, like this is a situation for me right now, and I'm gonna have to that contractor relationship right now is gonna have to be on pause until I can come back and hire you again.
Yeah. And
by the same token, like when we went back to Houston, I was like, okay, we gotta we got to come in hot. I'm like, we got to come in hot. We got to make some connections. We got to make something happen.
Yeah.
And we did, which I think is the good thing is like when you have that like, what is it? Like, what did you say? Like that mentality sometimes that you're like, como que eres bien like, no, I don't know. I don't even want to say that. But like when you know what I mean?
You're being vague, dude.
Well,
you're being vague.
I'm sure, but it's because I don't want to say like a hustle mentality, but like when you have that mentality of being like, oh, you know what, like I gotta make something happen, and I guess maybe it is under the pressure where you're like, oh, you know what, let me go and like figure something out. Let me go and like meet with all the people that I want to meet with, meet where all the things that I think that could be opportunities.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I've learned that our stagnant growth has come from our indecisiveness nature, meaning that I'm not trying to, my intention is never to be mean, but I am trying to grow in the sense of like, in personal and again, which is why the decisions we've made, coming up, and I don't like to stay stagnant. I'm willing to be risky. I'm willing to take a leap.
Yeah, bien arriesgado. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I'm willing to take more leaps a little bit. And what I do appreciate about you, Juan, is that you can tell me, sometimes I leap blindly, and sometimes you're like, Angelica, turn left, leap. Hopefully you land. And I appreciate that. I appreciate somebody's still watching out, that we're not just both solely like running blindly trying to make these things happen, but we're being very not careful, but we're being cognizant of what we're doing, and I like that. I like that approach. I like that there's more things that I want to do outside of what we're doing today, and I've talked to you about this, outside of what it looks like in PR, outside of what it looks like in marketing. Do I want to maintain and retain like what we're doing? Yes, because this is the passion. This is where I don't know, this is where our DNA is built into, is this, because I feel like we've been doing this for such a long time, and at this point I think we can teach the classes on it. Even myself, I feel like we can teach the classes on this. That's not what we're trying to do, though, right? But to continue our passion projects, we have to funnel elsewhere. We have to be able to fund what we're doing here. All okay?
Yeah.
Okay. We have to be able to fund what we're doing with our passion projects. So they, at some point, they start marrying each other and they start to like cross paths. They eventually do. But we still need to be able to sustain. I love working with people. I love the team we have. I hope we can hire some more people that, I want to fail at the things that we're doing to be able to learn. I don't want to fail hard. Like, I don't want to be heartbroken, but I do want to learn. And sometimes it's lessons learned. Yeah.
You said a mouthful right there. I was trying to like, I had like 2 or 3 things that I was like, wait, I want to say this and this and this, and I forgot.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. I just trying to like remember. So I was like, oh wait, I want to say this about that, and now I don't remember. So let me go back to what I was saying about. So my point anyway to my story earlier that probably didn't make sense was. So I was telling my mentor, because there's a mentor that I have who's like a retired business owner who donates his time, and we've been like, actually I met him through a grant program that I got from the Hispanic Chamber in Houston, and they connected me through this mentor. I was only required to have 2 sessions with him, and then but I like when we started talking, like I really liked his like he doesn't, it's almost like a therapist, like he doesn't really talk to me. It's almost like
no, they have a different approach. It's their approach that you enjoy.
Because he's like, he listens and then he gives me his opinion. He doesn't like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very like weird. And
no, a therapist doesn't give you their opinion.
No, I know, but I'm like. Anyway, so I was talking to him, and his name is Bill. So I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. But I was talking to Bill, and Bill's like, I was telling him, I was like, you know what? I think one of the things that this experience taught me, because I told him that the month of May or April, May was difficult for me. but I'm coming out of it now, and it looks a lot. It's looking a lot brighter for me. So I was like, knock on wood, like everything goes well the way I'm thinking it's gonna go. And I was like, but one of the things that taught me is that I have a tendency to try to manage very nicely. And to try to be very nice, and like always try to be very nice, and I was like, and he was like, and when I told him, I was like, it taught me that, you know, I can't be like that. I have to, like, what the business needs is what the business needs, and that has to be, and I have to, like, it's my job to make sure that the business is getting what it
has
needs.
It has to sustain its own entity.
And so he was like, when his response to me was like, he kind of smirked, and he was like, you know what, that's one of the biggest lessons that any business owner, any manager, anybody that's like in a leadership position, that's one of the toughest lessons to learn, is that you can't be, not that you can't be nice, but that you can't lead with niceness. You can't just, not that you can't lead with niceness, that doesn't even, like, you know what I mean? But more like you can't just focus on just being nice and making sure that you're nice with everybody and everybody feels good about you.
Fair. I think the word you're looking for is fair. You can manage fairly, and understand that fair doesn't always mean nice.
Right. It doesn't mean that like everybody's always gonna walk away like, oh, I got exactly what I wanted or didn't want. It's
absolutely.
more, you're right. It was they treated me fairly. Maybe I didn't get what I wanted, but I got treated fairly. I feel like it was an interaction where it wasn't. And in my mind, I was like, man, that's such a big lesson that I learned. But I think had I not gone through that, then maybe I wouldn't have learned that lesson right now. Like maybe it would have taken me longer. To get to that point, and then that by me trying to be like, oh, just nice, then I'm holding myself back. I'm holding the business back. I'm holding like what I want to do back, because you're right. I mean, it's not just about
you're holding its potential.
What we're doing right now. Like I think we both talked about, like, we have ideas of what we want to do next, or what other things we want to be involved with. And I think if we're just so like, what I mean, like not trying to do that, like not really focusing on, okay, what is it that needs to happen in order for that to happen, then you can't make it happen. And I think like we were talking to Ed, like, so sometimes we'll sit down and, like, we don't mean to, but I think like we just sit down and we're having a conversation, and then like Edgar, because he's seen us grow like in the business for so long, like he likes to think, I think he likes listening to us talk about business. And he likes to like opinionate.
I laugh because a lot of people tend to think, or tend to tell you how to run things, tell you what works for you. And it doesn't only lie on Edgar to make suggestions or opinionate. But yeah. So I laugh because his approach is very much, so what? You just gotta blah blah. Okay.
So I knew you were gonna say something like that.
You just gotta throw caution to the wind. Okay, that's not the way that works.
No, but you know what? Like, I brought him up because when we were sitting there the last time and we were having a conversation, and we were just talking about some like different little like conversations about business, and we don't get like, it's not like very like detailed where we're like, oh, here's like budgets and plans and this and that. Like, it's more like very like
situations,
anecdotal. And we were talking, but one thing that he said that stuck with me, and I was like, you know what? That's pretty accurate. What he said, he was like, the business builds the brand, and the brand builds the business. So to me, I like that.
Very philosophical.
Yeah, I like that. I was like, you know what? That's true, because one thing that we have been building is the Latina leadership brand. And so I was like, and that's also helped us with business. So when we were telling him, we were kind of describing to him like, oh, it works like this and it works like that and da 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 da. And then he said that like the business builds the brand and the brand builds the business. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I kind of like, not that there was like an aha moment, but the way he said it, the way he explained it, I was like, I like that. I like the way that is very clear.
Well, here's the thing. In terms of why, right? I was getting tired of telling people what we were passionate about. I thought it was time that we just showed them what we were passionate about. So I think that's why my focus started to become more about the Latina Leadership Podcast itself. Because we can continue telling people like what we're passionate about. We can tell people like all the things that we've done in the past, but when they're not watching you currently, what you're doing and what you're building, it's hard to do that. And so when your clients they need very specific work, and how can you find clients that align to your values and your mission within your company if you're not showing them what you're doing? So I was like, oh yeah, but it does make sense what he said.
No, but it's true. I mean, because I think I think a lot of times you get stuck in the like saying like, oh, what is my mission? What is my value? Da, 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 instead of actually showing it.
Yeah.
And instead of actually doing it. And I think like sometimes without even knowing that that's what you're doing, like, or without even knowing that that's your, like, that's not really, if it's not even your intention, but you're just doing it. So say, for example, like when we did the Lunch and Learn, like, I don't know if you in your mind had an idea, like had like the intention that it would help us bring in business. If that was a thought for you or not. Was it?
Are you asking me?
Oh,
yeah. For sure, I knew that I was going to bring us in front, which is why, without saying a lot, not because I need to be vague, but because this is part of like now we're diving into the work itself.
Yeah.
But yes, I knew that. I knew that it would. There was potential there, which is why I'm very. And I hope this doesn't come across as terrible, but that's why I tend to be very. I hate using this word, but kind of an asshole about things. Like I'm very picky and particular of all of it. Just think of all of it. My hands were knee deep in everything, because I wanted, not that I wanted it to run a certain way, but there was a reason why I was doing the things the way I was doing them. And with that being said, but yes, did I think there was going to be potential? Maybe not completely out of it, but potentially like coming from somewhere else. Yeah. So.
And so for me, like I didn't, like initially I was like, oh, like it'll be good visibility. It'll be good, like, it'll be a good like thing to build the brand, the podcast that you were building. And I think because I'm like, sometimes my mind is like, very task oriented. So it's very like, okay, here's this, we're doing this for this particular
Juan
thing.
is very literal.
So like I'm literally like looking at like, okay, so say we have like 10 clients and I'm looking at each client and I'm looking at da-da-da-da. Like, so I'm like looking through everything. And I think sometimes I don't like necessarily like observe or see like, oh, you know what, this is gonna like buy, like I don't see the bigger picture, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like sometimes not that I don't see the bigger picture, but that sometimes I have to like physically see the bigger picture in order to be like, oh, okay, now I see the connection.
It has to happen for you to see what it is that was going to happen.
Yeah, but the thing about me is like, I try not to interfere because I'm like, okay, like
I beg to differ. But go ahead, go off.
Go off what?
Go off. Go ahead. Go. Continue with your story.
Oh my gosh. This is the beefing part of our addiction.
This is.
No, but no, seriously. But I try not to interfere. Like, yeah, like when it comes to budgets and stuff like that, I probably will say, okay, like let's talk budgets. But for the most part, like I feel like I know you well enough now. Like we know each other like really well. But like now in business, doing business together, like I know you well enough that I'm like, okay, like. Man, I don't fully see the picture yet, but like I'm sure I will eventually. So like, and I think I'll just she's gonna run with it, and then eventually I'll see the picture. Yeah. Because I'm over here like making sure all the ducks are in the row where they need to be. And so.
Yeah, I'm like the wild child, and you're kind of just like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like the one that like then comes over and is like, hold on, let me see that. Yeah. Like sneaking by with like Angelica, what is that?
Yeah. I think if we were, for sure, I'd be the one to like drive the wild car, and you'd be like, wait, did you change the brakes?
No, but I think by the same token, like I think you said earlier, you appreciate it about me, but I think what I appreciate about you is that you tend to go with me, like you tend to go along with me. Like if I'm like, oh, you know what, like this happened or that happened, or, you know, if we do this might be risky or that might be risky. And you're like, okay, well, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think that's
because are we ever going to get another opportunity to do it?
Yeah.
No.
And so I think that's what I appreciate, is that like you're not like so like you never like tell me like, oh no, that's too much of a risk. Like if it is, then you'll let me know. But
and the only reason I like, so we were discussing like things that you know, what else can we venture into, right? And in terms of like what can facilitate us to make more income or to grow in other areas. And we were having the conversation, and then I was like, well, okay, that's fine, but here's what that's going to do. It's going to consume your time, and this is where it's going to consume your time, and this is how much money it's going to take, and will it like deliver what you think it's going to deliver? Here are the risks, because this is what I've seen, and this is what I've read, and if you want to go in that direction, then this probably might be better. And not because I think I'm good at that, but because for the last couple of like years myself, I have been doing like a little bit of like digging on like what else can I get in, what else can I get my hands dirty in to see what else I can make, or what else we can do, right? So I was like, okay, maybe this and maybe this, and I've heard you say it a few times, which is why I went to go look it up, and I was like, okay, what did he say? Like, okay, let me go look.
But I think, I mean, I feel like that's needed. Like, I feel like it's like one, you need the structure, and two, you need the somebody who's gonna push you, like, and be like, no, we gotta like think differently, or like try to be more creative, or just, you know, say why not try this, or why not do that, or like why not like try to prove what it is that we want to be about, like what it is that we want to represent.
Did you hear that? Did you read that article that they were talking about people who get hired? That companies tend to not hire people who are creative. Okay, did you read that article?
Mm-mm.
No? Oh, I'm sorry. I think I cut you off.
No, go ahead. I'm interested.
Okay, so there was an article out there that talked about creativity, that companies don't tend to hire people who tend to stay creative or be creative. Like, you're never hired to be creative in a company. You're always hired to do the work. But the problem becomes that your creative people are actually the people who grow your business. So it's like a catch-22.
But the reality is that we're not conditioned. We're not taught to be creative.
Yeah, no. Well, some people are not. You're not. No, you're not. You're right. You're not conditioned to be creative.
Like, you're taught. Like, I think we're
to do the work.
We're taught to be creative within like certain parameters. Like,
yes.
We're taught to be creative within a box. So it's like, okay, you can be creative, and like, here's your canvas. Here's your like 8x10 canvas, and you can be creative and paint in here. As soon as you start painting outside the lines, people are like, okay, no.
Come back.
Like, it's very, there's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of like, you know, it's uncomfortable because it's not familiar.
Yeah.
You know, to go beyond like what's normal. And I think that sometimes that's not a good thing.
Yeah, no. So in that process, I was thinking to myself, like, am I facilitating creativity among our team? And two, where are my limitations? Where are my hell no, absolutely not. And my so of course you have okay, but there is always parameters. You can't, like, not everybody is built to build an astronaut like space shuttle. Okay, it's not, some things have to be within parameters. I understand that. So, but when you give people the building blocks, the budget, and the space in a direction, can people run with it? That's what I'm looking for. We don't, like, there has to be some parameters. Otherwise, then you're really not being strategic about a business. Then you're kind of just, we don't, like, if we had play money, absolutely.
No, there are always parameters. But if you're not like comfortable with being creative, if you're not comfortable with like, because sometimes we're very conditioned to just, you know, get that like star, the little gold star, to like get the A+, to get the you know, the bonus points, to do the brownie points. we're very conditioned, so we know like what to do to get that. Because you're like, oh, you know what? I just add this extra step, but that's not the same thing as saying, okay, you have $200,000 and you have, and here's and we want you to come back with an idea. Get as creative as you can, da 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 da. And you come back with that idea. If you play it safe and you're like, oh, you know what? Like, we're only going to do this that I already know that has been successful, that we already researched and know that's already been done by some people. Then okay, yeah, you might be like, oh yeah, good job, pat on the back. But if you're like, you take that same example and you come back with like something really crazy and be like, okay, you know what? I stay within my budget, but it's something really kind of wild that I'm thinking of. Here's what I'm thinking, and da da da. And you present that. Like, I feel like it can be like, even if you don't move forward with that idea, it can kind of
trigger other things.
Yeah. That leads to like a whole different thing, outcome than what you initially were starting out with.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't take that risk of having that bold idea that maybe is like, gonna, like, some people in the room might be like, oh my God, did she really just say that? But if you don't take the risk, then you might not know, because somebody else on that same meeting.
Okay, but on that same token, though, you have to be mindful of what you're saying also.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just talk crazy. You can't just be crazy. That's not not the idea either. You have to be mindful of who you're talking to and what you're saying and what you're trying to like convey. So
I don't know if we're making any sense, but yeah.
So I know what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I'm just trying to backtrack it a little bit, because there is strategy behind what the madness. So you have to be very careful as to like how much liberty is given. Simply because, like I said, we had play money, and all I did was like, all right, this is what we need to do. We need to make, this is our budget to spend, and this is how much even that, right? It's like a limitless budget, but this is how much I would like to make. Let's say we can have it happen. I mean, yeah, absolutely, but no. Sometimes we're given direction by other people, and we have to follow those directions. But anyway, back to the articles, I found that very interesting. And I was like, oh, shoot, like, okay. That is, in a sense, it is true. It is kind of true that some people don't get hired to stay. They hire you for your creativity, but when you get hired, they don't let you be creative. And so it stifles you. And that's what I think some people get upset about, right? They never let you do what you were hired to do. But I understand the work also needs to get done. Now, with that being said, I was like, what can we do to make sure that our team is still being that things are still getting done, because they have to get done, but they're still being creative. And I think I'm still on that journey still, like thinking of ways that they can maintain creativity to be, you know what I mean? So we had a report, we had a newsletter for the podcast itself that was supposed to be creative, but because we had such a short deadline, it was not fun for anyone. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, but the outcome is beautiful. It's gorgeous. The amazing articles, the pictures, I had no input on what it was going to look like. None of that. I mean, I was almost hands off on it. I think I was hands on maybe 10% of it, and I was like, oh my God, I was blown away by the report itself. I just kind of said, this is what needs to be in there. Somebody make it happen.
Well, see, that's the thing on the back end. I was the one that was making sure everybody was doing what they were supposed to in terms of writing what they were supposed to. And then I was the one that provided the graphic designer with all the pictures. And I was told them, okay, here's what we need. Take liberty to be creative and come up with something with it, because you already created the brand for this or the logos for this brand. So you already know the brand identity. So within that brand identity, I need you to do this. And we had already done a report that for another project. So I was like, okay, it's similar to that, but it's going to be for this brand,
completely different.
And these are the pictures that I want you to use. So on the back end, my mind, I'm the one that I'm the one that is checking off all the lists. And so I'm like, okay, here, everybody, making sure everybody has what they need to, so that we can deliver it. And I've done enough of those that it was, for me to put it together was not that difficult. It was just making sure all the ducks were in a row.
So, in terms of that, So in terms of that, but this is something tangible that they can walk away with wherever it is that they go. Whatever job it is that they take it to. Like, I was part of this report right here because it's an amazing report. It's going to get switched a little bit, and it's going to be bigger. But that one was so nice that we could give to a client directly and be like, this is free. Like, so I like the fact that they can walk away with things that they can show proof of and not just say, this is what I did.
Yeah. And for me, the goal is to, like, yeah, I can do that, but I don't want to always be the one to do that. So my goal is to get a team of people that can do that without me being involved.
Well, that's the thing, though, that they watched you do it. So maybe one of them might be able to, like, step in and be like, okay, look, so Juan did it like this last time. I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to do it like this. But the idea is to have not the same outcome, but to have an outcome.
Because I think back to the places that I feel like I learned the most. And honestly, it's places where I wasn't given a lot of guidance. They were just kind of like, this is what we need. This is what, like, kind of, this is an example of what's been done before. Make it happen. And I had to go and, like, make it happen. So I figured it out. So, like, that's my new, like, mentality in my mind. I'm like, okay, I don't have to give you I don't have to hold your hand. I'm going to show you what I need. I'm going to give you the tools to make it happen.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what I'm working towards.
Yeah. Well, so that was the whole thing behind creativity. That I want to still be able to.
So it's a combo. It's creativity and then
hard work, right? But yeah.
No, it's creativity and being able to build it. But no, I think it goes hand in hand, and I think it complements each other. But anyway, I mean, we can keep going on.
I know. I think we're just ranting now. I think I definitely want to be cognizant of people's listening ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we'll wrap it up there. Just wanted to come in and record a new episode, and just kind of let you in on kind of where we are right now and where we're going.
We don't know yet how this is going to sound or what this is going to, like, this podcast needs to take off. So we've built the Latina Leadership Podcast. That one, it's I believe it's nice and solid for now. So we're going to start building this one. So we'll see what the outcome looks like for this one. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. It might look like Juan interviewing a couple of entrepreneurs himself, or a couple of business owners, or people in that space. It might be me interviewing a couple of business owners, or talking, bringing up certain topics that dedicate to entrepreneurs and business owners. Who knows what that looks like? We might talk grants. We might talk loans. We might talk hiring. We might talk firing. But we're excited. We're excited to push this through. What do you think, Juan?
Yeah, I mean, you're giving me some ideas. Like, oh, maybe that's a conversation to have. I have one conversation that I need to release it, and I'll release it, and that's like it. But I don't have anything else beyond that. So
okay,
it literally is a blank canvas. So
yeah. So we'll build this one. We'll see what the outcome is. Give us a little moment. Give us some time. 2023. Here we are. 2024. Wait for us. Ahí venimos. Ahí fuimos.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, and if you've been with us since we started podcasting, or any time since we were podcasting, like 2020 and beyond, like, wow, that's amazing that you're still here.
God, are we that bad?
No, not in a bad way. Like, just it's nice that you're still here.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening.
Jesus, Juan.
All right. We'll see you later.
And with that,
we'll see you later.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.